Beautiful people, I need you to understand that green Tahoe has a lot to do with this particular case. That's when you're going to see Adrian Love pull up the lyrics. Young Thug's lyrics. 100 rounds on your Tahoe. N-word lighting you up like a taco. Can't deny it. It's him. Let me tell you something. If you his defense lawyer, you got some problems with that.
Call your first witness. I got Kenneth Willis. He bought his business, he gon' take it the distance. Listen, he giving gaming, believing high level representation. Call your first witness. Yeah, call your first witness.
Griff has been paid for this endorsement.
Where you at, beautiful people? How you doing? How life treating you? It's your boy K Will checking in. Welcome to another episode of Call Your First Witness. Happy to be here. You already know I'm excited about today's show. Glad you're tuning in. I'm glad to be here just to break things down for you. Man, I'm almost like what's popping, but real talk, what's not popping? What's not popping? Y'all, they got so much going on right now. I don't know where to start. I'm like, man, I need to catch up. You got things going on in the Young Thug trial. Things really, really getting hot and heavy. Ooh, I'm telling you it's getting hot and heavy. I know we've been kind of holding on for dear life with this trial, but I got reason to believe it's about to start sizzling up. I'm just saying, you might want to buckle up. You might want to start tuning in. I don't know. I got the feeling. I could be wrong. I just got that feeling. You know, what else? You got Trump in the middle, not in the middle, towards the end of the trial. I think they're taking a break right now in New York. The jury is pretty much having a break. The jury for the Trump trial and the Young Thug trial, they kind of, they taking it light. They won't resume back until after Memorial Day. I'm sure they can enjoy that break. And I believe Tuesday after Memorial Day in the Trump case in New York, the lawyers are going to start closing arguments. So I'm paying close attention to that, y'all. I've been really, really busy with my own practice. Been having some real serious cases going on. So it's been a minute. It's been a minute, especially since I really been diving into these highly publicized cases. So I'm excited about today. And then P Diddy. Oh, Lord. Whoo, P Diddy. You know, the video. Most of you saw the video. Egregious is an understatement, to describe what we all saw, what most of us saw. So it's a lot going on, y'all, but I want to jump into this Young Thug trial, and I kind of want to just set the stage for where I think we're going. You probably heard of someone by the name of Donovan Thomas. Donovan Thomas is no longer with us. He was killed on January 10th of 2015. Now, he is a victim in the Young Thug trial, right? His name is mentioned in the indictment. If you follow this trial, you've heard his name will come up from time to time. He is the victim on the count number 2, which is a murder. This murder involves multiple defendants. Shannon Stillwell, you got DeMonte Kendrick, some other defendants. Now, Young Thug is not indicted for murder of Donovan Thomas, but he is indicted as being part of the conspiracy to kill Donovan Thomas. So this is a pretty serious portion of the case, y'all. It's about to get real intense if we haven't witnessed that already. But let me just kind of, set the stage for you. You got to understand, up until this part, although they kind of alluded to Donovan Thomas, the state presented evidence mostly about other incidents involving shootings. Not to undermine those shootings. You got the shooting at the Citgo gas station. You got the shooting involving Adrian Bean with law enforcement. You got several incidents, but nobody died. And again, not to undermine the severity of those incidents, now we're walking into the realm of a full-blown murder trial, which we're about to see, right? And if you had those incidents which lasted weeks, some months, you got the Roscoe Parish shooting of Lil Wayne's tour bus, you got that incident. We just came off the heels of that. That lasted for about 3 weeks. And so typically speaking, in my experience, when I'm trying to murder case, that trial is going to last for about a week, right? Including picking the jury. And sometimes we'll pick the jury the week before, and then we'll start into the trial. And that trial may last until from Monday until Friday, right? This case, when we talking about Donovan Thomas and everything surrounding this murder, y'all, we might be in this thing for at least 2 months talking about this same murder. I'm just saying, that's my best guess. That's my best guess. I might be exaggerating, but it's probably going to go over a month just on this murder, right? And this is a serious portion of the case that ain't to be played with, y'all. I mean, you've heard a lot from Brian Steele and Keith Adams, Young Thug's lawyer, right? And you've heard a lot from Maxwell Sharp, Shannon Stillwell's lawyer. You're going to probably see more of Doug Weinstein. Doug Weinstein is Lamonte Kendrick's attorney. I'm not saying Doug Weinstein is not doing his thing already or has not made his presence known. I'm just saying you're going to probably see more activity from him because we are into the realm of the homicide portion of this case as it relates to Donovan Thomas. And let me tell you something. Things get real. You know, every time I'm reminded of the 11th hour of, you know, I'm with my client, my investigator. We sitting down with our client, and it's like you got the jury waiting in the audience, right? And we haven't even started voir dire. We haven't started jury selection. And it's me, it's the prosecutor, and we still in negotiation trying to figure out whether or not we're going to resolve this matter. Right? And when I say resolve it, I don't mean dismissal. I'm saying we trying to figure out whether we going to roll the dice and put our client's fate in the hands of 12 strangers, or are we going to secure the outcome of this case? And securing the outcome doesn't mean a good thing, right? It doesn't mean you going home scot-free. It means you might have to sit down for a while. Right? And it's serious, especially when we're talking about a murder case. And so it's a situation where we going back and forth, and it might be going back and forth over second-degree murder or manslaughter. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but I'm talking specifically in Louisiana. And let me tell you something. The difference between second-degree murder and manslaughter is what you want, letters or numbers. Right? What you want to gamble with? You want to gamble with getting letters, L-I-F-E, or you want to get numbers? Take this plea, maybe get 35 years for manslaughter, 30 years, right? That's the negotiation back and forth. And no, nobody not trying to do 30 years or 35 years. Sometimes we could get it down to 20. It just depends on the nature of the case, the strengths and weaknesses of the state's case. Right? But a lot of times this negotiation is happening at the last moments right before we pick that jury. And I'll never forget, man, our investigator, man. Shout out to Mike Grimes. I call him Rev. He's a pastor of a church in Louisiana, in Alexandria, Louisiana. And Rev will always lean to me. He say, man, Willis, he said, Ken, always remember, bruh, they got a body bag. And I don't mean to laugh from a disrespect standpoint. It's like, here, always lean. Whenever we in that negotiation and I'm advising my client and we trying to make a decision whether or not it's in my client's best interest to roll the dice or we take this plea, here, always remind me, he said, Ken, remember they got that body bag. And I'm talking about a murder. Now, what Rev was talking about, Rev is reminding me, not out of disrespect to the deceased. He's not just saying, oh, it's just a body bag. He's reminding me about the psychological impressions that are left on the jury when they present the facts of the case. In particular, they got to hear from that pathologist, right? That pathologist is going to get on the stand and talk about the cause and the manner of the death. And they get on there and they talk about all their credentials and where they went to medical school at and how long they've been doing this and their training and their skills and all that. And it may bore you. But let me tell you something. When they start putting those pictures, those morbid pictures of a dead body lying on a cold counter, and then you see pictures of that body bag, right? It's a different kind of experience, man, when that jury has to see that. And us defense lawyers, listen, we're rather say, look, judge, we'll stipulate to all that. We'll stipulate that there was a shooting. We'll stipulate that the bullet caused the death. We'll stipulate that the manner of death was a homicide. We'll stipulate to all that. We'll agree to all that, judge. We don't need to have all these pictures. We don't need to have the pathologist. But no. You see, everything has to be proven. And the state, that's the last thing they want to do is stipulate to that. No, we're going to put our doctor on the stand and we're going to show exhibit after exhibit after exhibit of this dead body. And we're going to show these pictures of how this person was killed and this bullet in their skull. And the pathologist is going to show you the trajectory of the bullet and how it went through the body. And we're going to show you pictures that you can't even identify the face on this person. Yep. That's what's happening in these murder cases. And then you got the family that's sitting behind you. Some of them going to have to be escorted out the courtroom because they can't handle it, which we all can understand. You may get our loud outbursts of emotion. You can't bottle that up. You can't control that situation. And so what I'm telling you is this is a portion in the case where it gets real. The victim is humanized. You may get some emotions from that jury. It's a real thing. And yes, we remind the jury not to be caught up in emotions, but we not robots. And so I believe that this is a portion of the case for Adrian Love in the state of Georgia. If they can't do damage here, then they're going to have problems with the rest of the case. I'm sorry. Because what I'm reading, and they're going to have to prove it, but what I'm reading and what Adrian Love indicated in our opening statements, oh, wait a second. Donovan Thomas, who was murdered, the car that was involved in the shooting was the same car that Young Thug rented days before, right? And Young Thug allegedly loaned this car to some of his other boys who are YSL members. And those YSL members, some of them are co-defendants on this case and being charged with murder. DeMonte Kendrick, Shannon Stillwell. Right? And you got another defendant, last name Cobb. Like, it's about to get real serious. And so not only that, the state starts this off. The state, they done got into a day, I believe 79, day 80. Don't quote me on the day. But they put the mother on the stand. Donovan Thomas's mother took the stand. Now, let me tell you something. That's normally how it starts. Normally, the mom or the parent is not a witness to the crime, a witness to the murder, but they are there to humanize the victim, right? Yes, that's my son. Let me tell you a little bit about my son. Let me tell you who my son was. Let me tell you what he was doing on that day. Let me tell you when I last spoke to my son, right? And that's what the mother is establishing on the witness stand. But Adrian Love asks the mother a very interesting question. What car was he driving on that particular day when you last saw him? January 10th, 2015, the same day he was killed. Mother says a green Tahoe, right? A 2007 green Chevrolet Tahoe. Beautiful people, I need you to understand that green Tahoe has a lot to do with this particular case. That's when you're going to see Adrian Love pull up the lyrics. Young Thug's lyrics. 100 rounds on your Tahoe. N-word lighting you up like a taco. That's a song. That's in his lyrics. Can't deny it. It's him. Let me tell you something. If you his defense lawyer, you got some problems with that. That ain't nothing to sugarcoat. That ain't nothing to sit up here and act like, oh, we just gonna brush that to the side. It's all music. It's all art. He making his millions. No. Huh? What you talking about, Young Thug? A Tahoe? That's the same Tahoe Mom's talking about? That's the same Tahoe we seeing in these pictures? You the one who had this rental car? You loaned it to who? Other YSL members? Y'all don't get it twisted. This is the part where things are gonna get hot and heavy, and the defense is gonna need some explanations. And so you definitely gonna see Brian Steele and Keith Adams trying their best to distance Young Thug from this homicide. Oh yes. Young Thug ain't had nothing to do with all that. Yeah, that rental car may have been in his name, but he ain't asked nobody to go out there and shoot anybody. In fact, you got Brian Steele asking the mother, wait a second, look at this picture. This is Young Thug and your son Donovan Thomas in the picture together. And Brian Steele was asking the mom, do you recognize the people in this picture? The mother's like, yes, that's my son, and that's Jeffrey Williams. But see, Brian still got to be careful with this. See, we got common sense people on this jury. We want people with common sense. And so, Brian Steele, you can't make the argument that just because they were cool one day, right, that mean they gonna be cool forever. Like, come on, man. Common sense people can understand, listen, just because they were hanging out and chilling and everything was fine and dandy, I don't know, a few months ago, that don't mean things can't go south. And so he's bringing up pictures, but he got to be careful because once you bring one picture, then it's like, what other pictures you got? You know what I mean? Like, this all you got? So he showed the mother a picture of Donovan Thomas and Young Thug in the picture together. Then he showed some promotionals from Donovan Thomas's Instagram handle where he's promoting some event where Young Thug is performing or he's a guest. And so Brian Steele was trying to say, listen, the state is sitting up here saying they got some beef. Donovan Thomas has this high-ranking position with If Gang. And Jeffrey Williams is with YSL, and supposedly this is a beef, but they hanging out together. Well, Brian Steele, if you got one picture of them dapping each other off, or I don't know, just kind of seem like they kind of just taking a picture together, and that's all you got is some promotionals, you might have some jury members saying that ain't much. That ain't telling me nothing. That's telling me maybe they were cordial and then something popped off. That's just how things happen. You know, I remember I had a murder trial, man. My client was on trial for attempting to kill somebody he was rolling with the same just the week before and hanging out together, going places. And the next week, according to the state, my client tried to kill this dude. Right? And according to the allegations, when he tried to kill him, the bullet hit somebody else and killed them. And so all I'm saying is Brian Steele might want to be careful because I don't know if just because they were maybe cordial or maybe in the picture early and maybe some witnesses are coming and say, yeah, they used to kind of hang out together or they knew one another or something like that. I don't know if that's going to carry the day to say, oh, they didn't have a beef. Right? But he got to do the best he can with what he got. And you know me, I'm not trying to Monday morning quarterback. I'm just saying, like, these pictures, I don't know if all y'all saw it, but he was asking the mother about some promotional pictures that Donovan Thomas posted on his Instagram. That ain't really saying a whole lot. You know, it reminded me of this case, man. There was this case. I'm not going to say no names. I'm not giving jurisdictions. I'm not doing that for this one. I try to keep it real with y'all, but some things I just can't say. But, man, it was this case where a defendant was on trial for murder. The defendant was white, a young white man, and he killed an older black man. And so part of the state's theory, while this defendant was killing this black man, he was yelling racial slurs at him, right? So the defense lawyers wanted to present evidence to show that their client wasn't a racist. Y'all, you wouldn't believe what picture that they found. They went dig up a picture of their client. Their client was probably in their mid-20s. They went dig up a picture of their client on a high school football team, lined up on kickoff, right, about to kick the ball off, and on side of their client was a black teammate, right? They blew that picture up to show, oh, look, he has friends. He has friends. Look, he's side by side with a black person. Turns out he was a teammate, man. That's all you got? And so the fact that these lawyers presented this evidence, it pretty much amplified that if that's your best picture, that further supports maybe he was a racist. You can't find anything better than that? I'm just saying, I know that's an extreme version, but I'm telling you, sometimes you got to be careful. And so I don't know, but what I also read in the indictment was when Donovan Thomas was shot outside of that barbershop, his brother was right next to him, right? And according to his brother, Donovan Thomas told his brother right before he died, something along the lines that Young Thug has something to do with my death. Young Thug did this, right? And I'm paraphrasing, and they kind of were paraphrasing in their indictment. Let me tell you something. Let me give you a quick evidence 101. Yes, obviously, Donovan Thomas is no longer with us, so you won't hear that from him. But his brother was there, and the natural thought would be that's hearsay. Not so much. In Louisiana, that's called the dying declaration. Under New York law, that's called a dying declaration. Under the federal rules of evidence in the United States, that's known as a dying declaration. And so I have reason to believe under the state of Georgia, that is considered a dying declaration. What is a dying declaration? I'm glad you asked. Basically, it means if someone is about to die or may think they're about to die and they give out this quick utterance, and they say something in their impending death, thinking they're about to die, that's an exception to a hearsay rule. And so it's coming in as long as Donovan's brother can come in court and establish that, or anybody who heard that. That's something the defense lawyers do not want to deal with. Oh, yes. It's about to get real, y'all. I'm telling you. I'm not saying that, oh, this is their whole case and they going to sink Young Thug and all the other defendants. I'm just saying we talking about a murder now. We not talking about incidents that happened in the past that maybe some people pled guilty to, some people were convicted of. We talking about a murder that happened in 2015 and the family didn't get justice yet. I'm not finished. Mom is on the stand and she said, oh yeah, back in 2019, we go to visit my son at the graveyard. And guess what we find? Vandalism of my son's tombstone. Slat in green. Slat. And so here it go, me being me, telling my age, what the heck does slat mean? You already know. Y'all already had to teach me what no cap mean. Now I had to figure out what slat mean. All right. Now, I want you to picture this. This is mom on the stand. She's not a witness to the murder, but she's humanizing her son. And she says on 2019, on Father's Day, I go to the graveyard and I see slat on my son's tombstone. That's a problem, y'all. That's a problem. So, you know, I got to educate myself. I can't speak on something I don't know. What does slat mean? Well, according to my research, this has not been verified by Young Thug himself, but slat stands from slime love all the time or slime life all the time. All right? That's on the tombstone. And I saw the picture, lime green. Now, who's doing that? Whether it's Young Thug that went to the graveyard and did something like that, I would doubt. But who's doing that? Y'all, who does that kind of stuff? Like that, every now and then when I think I've heard it all, I'm reminded that I don't. Who does stuff like that? Y'all, the man dead. It's over. 4 years later, you showing up at the graveyard, and I don't know if it was 4 years, but that's when the mom found out, and you vandalizing the man's tombstone? You would have never dreamed. Anybody who was responsible for that, I'm not saying they're in Young Thug's camp, I don't know, but they wouldn't have never dreamed that would someday that would be in a trial as State Exhibit 1842, the picture of Donovan Thomas' tombstone with slat on it. Yeah, you already know the state got that many exhibits. You know, it's been that kind of trial. And so now you dealing with that. So it's slat. So we're not there yet. I'm telling you, this thing, if Adrian Love can't pick it up in the next few weeks, in the next couple of weeks or so, if she can't start trying to substantiate what is written on that indictment, I don't believe we ever gonna see it. So I'm gonna be on the edge of my seat tuning into this trial because it's about to get hot and heavy, y'all. Real intense. Slat? I did my research. Supposedly this was something Young Thug used to rap about. He started it, something you would hear in Young Thug's tracks maybe back in 2013, and you would hear him say it more and more, and it got more popular, and other rappers were saying it, slat. And so I believe that you're going to get somebody to try to establish what slat means, and the fact that it was in green, and the fact that it was on a tombstone, and then you're going to present those lyrics. 100 rounds on your Tahoe, N-word lighting up your taco. Yo, you understand, like this, this ain't nothing to play with. Brian Steele and Keith Adams, they're going to have some long nights. And I know they equipped for the task, no question about it, but it's about to get real serious, man, because that was just moms. You just heard from moms. And so you may hear from detectives. You may hear from witnesses. You may hear from Kenneth Copeland. Pay attention to that name. That was a name that was mentioned in opening statements. Brian Steele presented Young Thug to have zero proximity to Kenneth Copeland. Copeland is acting on his own. Everything as it relates to this murder, that's them acting on their own volition. This is not at the behest of Young Thug. Young Thug is making millions. He has nothing to do with that. Yeah, that might be his rental in his name, but that's not him out there shooting, and you're not going to get any evidence showing that he ordered anybody to make those shots. That's going to be the defense. But you got to answer to 100 rounds on the Tahoe, N-word lighting up your taco. Not saying that's going to be the end-all, be-all, and solidify a conviction, but these are some serious matters that Young Thug's lawyers and the other co-defendants' lawyers under count 2 for murder. Not saying Young Thug because he's not charged for murder, but he's charged for conspiracy. But the other co-defendants for murder, yes, they all going to have to deal with that, and it's nothing to play with because, as I said, as Reverend Grimes reminded us, they got that body bag. So, y'all, I'm going to leave it right there. like I said, all I wanted to do was set the stage. It's going to be pretty interesting. I believe the next few weeks, I'm going to pay a lot of attention to it. There's been a lot of other things going on, and it's crazy how this stuff happens because it's hard to keep up with, especially it seems like these things happen. The busier I get, the more crazier things get in the news, right? And so I want to pivot and talk a little bit about the P Diddy situation. You know, that's one of those things where I mean, most of us saw the video. It's disturbing. It's disgusting. These are words that just can't explain the emotion that's felt, right? You don't need me to tell you. You don't need me to explain it. You don't need me to give you a narration of how unacceptable that behavior is. And so I'm not even going to spend time on that. But what I would like to address is something that I spend a lot of time with the jury when I'm picking a jury. I use an illustration all the time, and I use celebrities as an example when I'm talking about the importance of keeping your mouth shut, right? And I don't say it like that, just the importance of remaining silent and how that is an indelible right as per our Constitution. It's part of your fundamental right to simply remain quiet. And I always talk about celebrities, how publicists are at odds with the defense lawyer, right? Because the publicist is saying, look, you got to get in front of this. Remember your brand, protect your brand. What about your followers? What about your fans? They want to hear from you. You being indicted, your name in the news, they're dragging your name in the mud. You got to give a statement. You have to say something. Let these folks know you're innocent. Yet you got the defense lawyer in the cut saying, no. You must understand. Remember those words. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. Yes. That rings true. Even in the media, hush your mouth. Keep quiet. Stop giving statements. Human nature wants you to talk. I get it. You got your fans. You got your brand. You got your endorsements, your sponsors. You want to try to save all that. Forget about it. They're going to drop you like it's hot anyway. They done with you anyway, just on the allegations. Stop trying to save face because it's going to turn around and be used against you. So allegations come out. Cassie Ventura, and listen, let me just pause right quick because Cassie's name is back in the news from this video, and so she has to see it all, and she has to relive that incident all over again. And so I just want to pause for a second and just acknowledge that she's dealing with a whole lot, her and her family. And as we cover these stories, a lot of this is entertainment for us, but it's their real life. Oh, yes. So I just wanted to pause for that cause. But Cassie Ventura comes out with her lawsuit at the end of 2023, somewhere around November. And we all know that case settled like the speed of lightning. Filed the lawsuit, settled the very next day. And then some other lawsuits came after. You remember one of my episodes, drip, drop, drip, drippity, drop. And as we see, things are still dropping. But we also remember towards the end of last year, it seems as though P Diddy got fed up and said pretty much enough is enough. I got to give a statement. All this is not true. All these allegations, I got to give a statement. And a lawyer can come up and say, wait. I know y'all saying P Diddy is a liar because he said this wasn't true. And the video clearly shows what it shows. As my high school football coach would say, profoundly, film don't lie. Friday night, we playing in a game. Maybe we missed a tackle. Maybe one of us was holding. Our coaches are watching the film Saturday morning. Come Monday, when it's time for practice and we got film session, Coach Z remind us, guess what? You said you weren't holding. You said that person was holding you so you couldn't make that tackle. Guess what, brother? Film don't lie. Oh, yes. And something about the video, something about the image is stenciled in our memory. It doesn't leave us, right? We could hear about a situation. Somebody can allege a situation. But when we see it with our own eyes in the egregious nature of it, oh, bro, you're done. Ask Ray Rice. I hate to bring it up. I'm sure Ray Rice moved on with his family and is living his life. But after we saw that video, those of you who may not know who I'm talking about, Ray Rice was a very skilled running back for the Baltimore Ravens. And before that, he went to Rutgers. I'm talking about real good running back. Kind of short in stature, but was stocky, about 5'7", and could run between those tackles. Oh, yes. Until we saw those vivid images, that boy ain't never sniffed the field. NFL was like, nah, cuz, not on that one. That was the end of his career. So when we see these videos, we don't care what folks said. We don't care what's written. What's on this video? And see, now you can have one of Diddy's lawyers come and say, yeah. He did deny those allegations, but he was denying the other lawsuits that followed Cassie's lawsuit. So, yes, he's actually telling the truth that the other lawsuits he denied. But remember, they settled the first one. He wasn't talking about Cassie when he denied all the allegations. Now you got to explain yourself. You go and see what had happened mode. You could not resist giving a statement. And so now you circle back and you give a video on Instagram and it's, I'm sorry, I don't want forgiveness, I don't want all that. Folks are thinking, oh, you lied about that. Why are we to believe anything that come out your mouth? It's hard to resist from defending yourself. But when we say keep your mouth closed, we mean from the moment police came to your door, knocked on your door, or called your phone to talk to you all the way to the end of trial. But I don't know if that was going to help him because they got a video. So it is what it is. But not, it's damage control on a whole nother level. Man, somebody should have gave that man Olivia Pope's number and say, look, dog, like, you might want to call her because it's not really looking too good. And listen, I can't second guess lawyers because nobody can be perfect in this situation. We talking about a video from 2016. We talking about lawsuits that came in 2023. Like, nobody don't have a crystal ball as to how all this gonna unfold. I guess P Diddy and his team thought they took care of that by paying some security guy $50K. It could not have been a high-level employee. Nah, bro, you need some better negotiating skills. $50K? So that had to have been some guy who kind of was in one of those back rooms, those security rooms, and thought $50K was a come up. Because, yo, $50K, that's not even a floor. Bro, you better add some zeros and some commas. You want this video. And we realizing that whatever agreement that they had, that don't mean a hill of beans. Whether it's the Trump case and we talking about non-disclosure agreements, whether it's the P Diddy case, oh, I'm going to give you $50K and that video going to somehow disappear. Man, that stuff ain't holding up. And what you going to do? Sue me. Sue me. It ain't going to hold up in court. So, but what I'm saying is I can't second guess these decisions and what's happening in these legal rooms and what's going on between PR and the lawyers. You see what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of things that's happening and it's just falling apart. And we haven't even really ventured into the criminal aspect of all this. That's a lot of civil stuff we seeing. Because remember, that video, that's outside the statute of limitations in California. So it's not like Cassie Ventura can pursue charges against P Diddy for domestic abuse and assault. But you better believe the feds probably had that video long before we laid our eyes on it. Because remember, the feds, all this kind of started because after the lawsuits. Remember, Homeland Security got involved and started raiding P. Diddy's homes, but that stemmed from all these lawsuits. And according to my research, the feds interviewed the plaintiffs from the civil lawsuits. One of the plaintiffs is Cassie Ventura. So I believe that the feds already had their hands on that video. And guess what? If the feds are pursuing criminal charges against P. Diddy, it's not going to be just because of that video. That's going to be what we call in Louisiana lane yap. A little something extra. Oh, yeah. It ain't going to be just that. They going to hit you with the RICO statutes. They going to hit you with all the underage sexual assault crimes. Oh, yeah. That video is going to be considered lane yap. It may fall under other crimes, bad acts. It's basically an exception to the rule. The rule is you can't use character evidence as a means to convict somebody, but there is an exception. And let me tell you something. As a law student, we lost sleep trying to learn the acronym for all the exceptions to character evidence coming in as evidence. Intent, pattern, identity, mistake of fact. I mean, all kind of exceptions to the rule. And the more and more I go into court, the more and more I realize, man, you might as well just say all that could come in. So if the feds indict P. Diddy, I won't be shocked if that's part of their evidence, but that ain't going to be government exhibit A, B, C, D. That's going to be something like, oh, yeah, and by the way, remember this? Let's throw that in there, too. Whoop. There you go. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Don't forget about the Trump case, y'all. Ooh, yeah. Listen, I'm Trump. The Trump case is pretty much coming to a close. Yeah, y'all. I got a little bit of everything for y'all. You dig? Neapolitan ice cream. You heard me? What you want? What flavor you want? Young Thug. You want a little bit of Young Thug. You want some P. Diddy. You want Trump. What you want? I got a little Trump for you. Let me stop. I'm gonna close it right here. But Trump, listen, that case, they are scheduled to start closing arguments the day after Memorial Day, that Tuesday. And last I tuned in, I remember Michael Cohen was on the stand. He's the guy who pretty much leaned into being a rat. Trump called him a rat. He embraced being a rat, and that's been his campaign since then. Like, I'm here to, set the record straight. And so he's slimy. He was indicted for perjury. That's the worst conviction, right? It's one thing when you put a witness on, like when we have witnesses, when witnesses get on the stand and testify against our client as defense lawyers, man, we salivate when we find out those witnesses have convictions, right? Because it's fair game. It calls into question whether or not that person's credible just on the fact that they have a conviction. But if you got a conviction for perjury, meaning there was a previous time where you were under oath and you lied, man, that's a defense lawyer's dream. And so I read where he had to admit he was under cross, and he had to admit stealing thousands of dollars from Trump in his business. So he's one of those cats where I could see a jury like, man, I don't know with him. I don't know with Cohen. Like, I could see some people just putting an X by Cohen's name and saying, what else we got? But it's hard to tell, y'all. I've been kind of in and out of that trial, but it's hard to say. But I know it's dealing with a lot of paperwork that the people in New York is trying to say, listen, man, Trump lied on a lot of his business records to cover up a crime, right? And you could tell his lawyers, they trying to imply that he relied on his lawyer, but they can't even make that argument. So you could tell they subtly trying to sneak it in, but they can't make that argument. That was excluded well before they started the trial. They had some evidentiary issues, and the judge said, you can't go there. But it's hard to say what's going on because, you know, in New York, they don't have cameras. And so all you can really go with is who's covering the case. And that's hard. You can't turn on MSNBC. MSNBC going to say Trump losing. You turn on Fox. Fox going to say either Trump winning or the judge is biased against Trump. Like, I don't know what to turn on. I'm going to see what PBS talking about because you really don't know. You really don't know how, because everybody got a narrative. But real talk, that's why you just got to find that information. And there's a lot of outlets who's just covering it and just calling it how they see it. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's a hung jury, y'all. I would not be shocked. Remember, I talked about the jury selection, and you got somebody on there who didn't pay attention to CNN or MSNBC or Fox, PBS, whatever. He didn't check none of that, but he checked, what's the name of Trump's social media business? Truth Social. He did check Truth Social. He said, that's where I get my news from. So remember, all you need is one. I'm not suggesting that he's the one, but as I stated in my other episode where I was like, I think Trump's lawyers definitely wanted him on that jury. All you need is one to say, you know what? I'm not rocking with this. And I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here into the wee hours of the morning and stay firm in my position, not guilty. All you need is one, and that's a hung jury. I would not be surprised. But we're going to see what happens. So stay tuned, y'all. I'm going to be looking closely at the closing arguments. If I have time, I'm going to break it down because I believe probably my best guess, we may have a verdict by next week. We may. I don't know. I don't know for sure. We talking about Trump, y'all, so anything's possible. You dig? Anything's possible. So that's my time, y'all. I enjoyed catching up. I did it a little different. I covered a few cases all at one time. I hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait to share more with y'all. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. I appreciate your attention. Keep letting folks know about me. Subscribe, like, all that great stuff. I'm on YouTube. I'm on all your major podcast platforms. Check me out, y'all. That's my time. One.
Call your first witness. I got Kenneth Willis. He bought his business, he gon' take it the distance. Listen, he giving gaming, believe in high level represent. Call your first witness. Yeah, call your first witness.
Griff has been paid for this endorsement.